When I was a freshman in high school, I had this teacher that absolutely hated me. She was my biology teacher, who was also my homeroom teacher. I never did anything to her, yet she hated me. She accused me of being on drugs one time, when I never even seen drugs in my life at that age. I just finished 8th grade, going on 9th grade. I was just a tired, sleepless teenager that moved from the north to the south, also going through my parents' divorce. I was just depressed. Everyone down here treated me badly just because I looked different. I had no friends here, and I missed my friends at home. So I did really bad in high school. Academically, I had to take summer school. She has told me I was academically challenged, but I'm not. I was tested back in middle school. I don't have any disabilities. She even called me stupid in front of the entire class. One time, I raised my hand to answer a question since no one else was raising their hand, and she was so persistent on getting someone to answer, and I got the answer right, and she said, "Wow, guys, even Jane Doe got this right. You guys should have known the answer." Anyways, fast forward more than a decade now. I'm a nurse. For a long time, my high school teachers made me start to believe I was stupid. I wasn't stupid. I ended up doing well in college. I just had a tough childhood. I was depressed. I went through a lot during my teenage years. Last week, my former teacher from HS came into the clinic I work at, and I took her vitals and got her ready to see the doctor. She didn't recognize me. I look very different, obviously, LOL, and I got married, so I changed my last name. When I told her my first and last name that she knows me by, and I told her I was in her class, her eyes widened and she was shocked. She remembered me. She actually looked like she was excited to see me. She told me she was proud of me, and she never thought in a million years that I would be her nurse. She joked to me and said, "I would have thought you made it as a receptionist if I ever imagined running into you at a clinic wearing scrubs," and she started laughing. I didn't think that was funny. Quite offensive, actually. I was a receptionist for some time, and I hated it. They deal with more shit than doctors and nurses do. Anyways, my former teacher is still a bitch, LOL. I had a similar experience with a high school counselor. This woman literally bullied me. And a guy so bad, we were stupid. We were troublemakers. Neither of us had ever been in trouble with the school that we should just drop out. Shit like that. The guy became a decorated career Marine. When he left active service, his civilian job was working with police departments, training for active shooter situations and SWAT operations. He saw the counselor when he came to our old high school for a career day event where he was one of the speakers. She was shocked by the fact he had built a career and was a respected consultant but worked with multiple police departments. I ended up graduating for university with honors and in the top percentile of my class. I went into working for the courts. I was a sworn court official. The joy I felt when she saw me in the courthouse, and she was amazed I was there, actually asked me what I had done that I needed to be in the courthouse at 8 a.m. I proudly told her that I worked here and was an officer of the court. And since I was at work and in a professional setting, I would appreciate it if she kept things professional and referred to me by my title, since this building was full of my clients and potential clients. She looked like I had slapped her. She doubled down and was like, "I thought you needed higher education to be in this field." I told her I did have higher education, and in fact had graduated from university and had done it with honors. She didn't know what to say after that. I excused myself, saying I had to go get ready for my court docket that day. Well, I'm so glad that you got the same satisfaction that myself and my Marine Corps friend got, of showing someone who doubted you so much that you in fact did succeed and achieve your goals and are thriving in your chosen profession despite someone telling you otherwise. I had a short version of this. I got an A for maths, O-level. I'm old. These were the exams we took at 16 back in the 1970s. And an A was the highest possible mark. My maths teacher saw me in the corridor shortly after the results came out and actually berated me for getting an A. "How did you get an A? How did I not know that you were going to get an A at CTE?" "Well, maybe it's because you ignored all the girls in your class, Mr. Ager, and also failed to notice that though my arithmetic was a bit rocky, I was fucking brilliant at geometry, algebra, trigonometry, and problem solving." I had an English teacher like this. She used to kick me out of class for anything. She hated that I would ask questions. She hated even more that I continued to do well at English, even though she was deliberately trying to hold me back. At a friend's funeral she attended, and I had the joy of telling her I was a journalist and had written a few award-winning short stories. I had one teacher who gave me shit and put me down. Never figured out why. Turns out the rest of the teachers and the administration disagreed with him. They overrode a decision he made that he thought would hurt me. I have no idea if he's still alive. Never cared to check. As a teacher, I cannot comprehend of being so shitty to my students. Next year is year 20, and I have run into a fair share of former students. I am proud to say they are always happy to see me and I them because I treat my students like humans. I will say that I had an awful art teacher in high school. She treated me like I was faceless and talentless. She's my model for how not treat my students. I teach elementary art. She would even remember me if I saw her. People like that have no business in schools. I am working as a teacher with one of my teachers who made my life hell in primary school. I did not recognize her at first, and nor her me. I am her direct lead. When I tell you she paints the most fairy tale version of my experience of her well. I came from a very troubled home, are neurodivergent, and have huge anxiety. And this woman did not help. The irony being she is one of my hardest staff to manage. She can't manage the difficult kids, aka the kids like me. You were never the problem. They just found an easy target. I too was a bored social butterfly type who just didn't care about grades. I was TBS, a late developing teenager. Academics was not my priority. In grade 10, my guidance counselor told me that I wasn't cut out for any post-secondary training and should just go work as an apprentice in trades. We are talking early 90s here. I graduated high school with mediocre grades, started off in community college for business, transferred to uni for health sciences, graduated D's List, graduated chiropractic college magna cum laude, realized it wasn't for me, and then went back to medical school and graduated summa cum laude. Now, 15 years in practice, in ER, hospitalist, and private practice. I never encountered Mr. Wells again, but if I'm honest, it still irks me that this was the guidance given to a naive, insecure 15-year-old. For a few years, I lacked confidence, thought I was unintelligent and an imposter, and I don't believe it was an effort to motivate me. Mr. Wells was just a mean, condescending, and jaded high school teacher that sucked at teaching, so they stuck him in the counselor's office at my high school in Ontario. I had a run-in with a university lecturer. He failed a paper I wrote describing how 9,600 megabits per second modems could work over a standard phone line. At the time, 1,200 megabits per second were most common. 2,400 megabits per second were starting to take over. What I'd researched was how 9600 modems did work over phone line. His comment was something like, 9600 megabits per second will never work over copper, F. Years later, I was working for a modem company doing support, and in walks Dr. Chan with his modem needing repairs. His 28.8K modem. He remembered me too. First question I asked was, how long was your 28.8K modem working over a standard phone line? His modem got accidentally shifted on purpose to the back of the queue a few times. I have had my parents and teachers tell me I would be nothing. At the time in my early teens, I looked like a failure. I often wore the same clothes day after day because my parents wouldn't buy any new clothes. I was never taught basic hygiene, so I would go a few weeks without showering. My social studies teacher told me I amounted to nothing. My 8th grade teacher wouldn't spend time with me to help me understand. I left home with $20 and my clothes in a garbage bag. I remember sitting on a bench, watching people go by. What to do. I know it's not the same thing, but I grew up in an extremely high-control religion, and I broke away and married an atheist. All the old biddies at church went apoplectic and had a conniption. I had 3 separate women tell that my husband would beat me because atheists are evil, cheat on me because atheists are evil, or abandon me because atheists are evil. They all claimed this would happen within 2 years, and they were just trying to prevent me from making a huge mistake. I have a point, I promise. My husband and I are very happily married 18 plus years later. The old biddies, first please understand I am not reveling in this, but it is a certain type of irony. One of them, her husband left her for a younger woman. Another, she is unfortunately in an abusive relationship with him, and the other is forced to stay in her marriage while she knows her husband gallivants with other women. And all of them are good Christian men, with good standing in church. The point is, these women were for some reason furious when they saw me with my husband and our 2 children happily at a wedding years later. They weren't happy like your teacher was, but their expectation of myself and my marriage was the complete opposite, and that broke their image of me. And joke's on them, I'm an atheist now. Edit, whoop, forgot something very important. Great job on making it as a nurse. That's no small feat. It takes a lot of time, effort, and exhaustion to get there. You've done great, and you should be very proud of yourself. And I hope that when your former teacher left, a realization hit her and shame filled her. But we all know how these people are. So, you know. I was kicked out of school in the 7th grade. And told that I would spend my life in and out of prison and would never amount to anything. I am a surgeon and own a busy practice and surgery center. Never been to prison. I have 4 adult kids who had a stable, healthy home. I have taken care of former teachers or their spouse from that school. I was invited by that school to speak at Career Day one year, and I went and spoke. Still felt like an imposter walking onto that tiny campus I used to think was huge, LOL. My college advisor told me I was not smart enough for biology. I took AP Bio as a junior in high school and understood everything in college, explaining biological processes often to my college classmates. I went to a very competitive college, but the classes were torture. Almost every class followed the same rule. The chapter quizzes never aligned to the chapter content we studied, and we only had 2 people out of 100 pass each chapter quiz. BC, they had the answers, so they always ended up wrecking our possibility for a curve. Side note, I wish people understood how much cheating occurs in college, including standardized testing for college acceptance, ACT and SAT. It would change how people viewed education and equity. In college again, for another biology class sophomore year, my lab partner had her senior boyfriend rewrite our lab report. He was an honors student and recreated our data, i.e. created fake data, so our experiment results looked better. I was called into the office by a very distinguished biology professor, pretty famous in the field, and scolded because my biology report and data did not align and was not perfect like my lab partners. She accused me of cheating, even though my results were real. I left the office crying. In hindsight, I wish I had challenged, get grade, but I came from poverty and didn't know you could challenge these sorts of things. I felt like trash throughout college because incidents like this kept happening to me throughout college, and I had no self-esteem and thought I was an idiot. When I graduated until I went to grad school, where my professors assigned work and gave exams that correlated to the topics we were studying. Also, the environment was conducive to less cheating. Edit. This post triggered me so hard, I forgot to thank you for the post and say sorry you had this experience. Glad this teacher had the opportunity to see you shine. Also, my dad died when I was 7 years old. I did horribly in elementary school because I was so scared to leave my mom. I did all kind of therapy, and honestly, my mom did everything she possibly could, but man, I had so many teachers basically write me off because I was stupid. My entire elementary education, I believed I was stupid and would accomplish nothing in life. When I got to middle school, I had a few teachers who really believed in me and turned my life around. It went on to high school where I was encouraged more. I went to college and got my degree in early childhood development and family relations. There are still days when the damage those teachers did is still there. I still don't consider myself very intelligent, but I deserved better. I'm so glad you got through that. Congratulations on being a nurse. That's a huge accomplishment. Be proud of yourself. I felt this post and I was talking about my past in high school and where I am today. I was similar to you, but not depressed. But I graduated a year late. I was lazy and hated homework. For quite a bit of my teen years, my mom was addicted to crack. Home life wasn't the greatest. Of course, I have mild Becker muscular dystrophy. I live a normal life. I went to college at age 23, got a degree in automotive engineering and a minor in manufacturing engineering technology. And I somehow got an awesome career as a county appraiser for property taxes. I get paid well too. But I didn't go to college because no one told me how to even start the process. No one told me I can go to college and I don't have to pay back loans until after I graduate or stop going. No one told me I can apply for financial aid to see if I can do that. And that's my friend. And I don't owe money if I don't go to college. Literally no one in my life told me that. Did they think I was that stupid? There's no way I could do college. It wasn't until I was 23 and my girlfriend, now wife, sat me down and walked me through the college option. She believed in me. It's all I needed. Great job, fellow person. I'm proud of you. We did it. My dad is a doctor. He got a guy as a patient who beat my aunt into a bloody pulp. Now, they were children back then, but my dad never forgot. The guy came in for some kind of ailment. My dad had to give him a shot, but he had the nurse get the shot. It's supposed to be mixed like an epoxy, and it was cold. He was supposed to warm it up. Now, my dad, being a very vengeful person, applied the shot himself. He told him it was going to be slow and painful. He just had to bear with it. He made that man sing in the key of anguish. He told my aunt about it, but she had forgotten all about the beating that she took. Had a principal who encouraged me to drop out because I was a pain in his arse. The problem was, I am an expert in malicious compliance, and he couldn't kick me out. So instead, he was dedicated in his mission to get me to drop out. I didn't, and graduated with a 4.0 Number of years later, lo and behold, he came to my clinic for a specific surgery I engaged in. Polite conversation, confirming I was a former student of his. He said he was proud of my accomplishments, to which I sweetly informed him that being only one of less than 20 people in the world who could perform his surgery, I was so very thankful I stayed in school, despite his encouragement otherwise. The sweetest satisfaction came by ignoring him and becoming the person who could fix him. I worked at Canadian Tire for 6 years after high school. My old gym teacher came in for some summer furniture one time, and of course, I was the one to help her. Because I took gym class past when it was mandatory, I was always surrounded by all the kids on the football team. One kid in particular was always a massive dick to me and would take any opportunity to put me down. Once during floor hockey, he was repeatedly banging my helmet with his stick. I was goalie and couldn't leave my spot. I remember looking the teacher in the eyes as it was happening, and she just looked away. I never felt more isolated than in that class. She wouldn't punish any of them because they were on the football team. When I helped her at CT, she looked excited to see me and clearly remember who I was. She tried to make small talk, but I wouldn't give her an inch. And eventually she put on a face that said she knew why I was acting cold towards her. I kinda still wish I had ripped her a new one, but it wouldn't have changed anything that happened. That's why you gotta get the satisfaction of telling them off on high school. No bullshit or insults. I told my chem teacher to go fuck herself after she set me up for failure with the kids she knew wouldn't help me in a project. One slept and farted while doing so in class, and one was so obsessed with Jay Chow. School didn't matter to her. Got my hand. Parents called. Didn't care. Parents got mad at teacher. LOL. And for those of you who are wondering, Jay Chow was a Chinese or Chinese-speaking pop star. Was crazy huge at the time. 2005. Being that my school was predominantly Asian, every girl loved that guy, which made most non-Asian girls exposed to him. And they loved that guy, then actually loved that guy. LOL. I had a similar experience in high school. Depressed, anxiety, dealing with adult issues when I was a child, ill-equipped to deal with such trauma. A maths teacher was abusive towards me, telling me if I didn't understand what I was asking questions about, trying to learn, then I would never have a job other than in fast food. I never worked fast food by principle because of this. Shows how stubborn I am, OL. Anyway, many years into managing my first store, this teacher came in, requesting a discount on a particular item we sell. I knew it was unlikely I would be recognized by this man, and that by refusing his purchase, it would ultimately mean less money in the till. However, when the item was quite cheap to begin with, and the abused teen in my required soothing still, I informed him I was too unintelligent to work out the discount. Sorry, and just stared at him until he walked out. Felt so good. It's nice to know some humans never change. Take some solace that she's probably jealous of your youth and health. When I was a cashier, there was this ridiculously rich man in our small town who was friends with all the older men, but for some reason hated me. Always came onto my register though. He'd always find an issue with me, my bagging, my customer service. He told me once, I can just see it. In 50 years, you're still gonna be at this exact register, doing exactly this. Welp. Fast forward a few years and I joined EMS. One of my first calls as a new paramedic was for him. I could barely recognize him too, as he had lost a lot of weight and was on oxygen. He did in fact live in a big mansion like he used to say, and I only put the pieces together when I wrote down his name. I could see it in his eyes. He remembered me. I have a big vitiligo hair strand that sticks out, and he was almost scared. I pretended I didn't know who he was, transported, and treated accordingly. I'm not saying it felt nice to see him sick, but what goes around comes around. And illness doesn't discriminate tax brackets. God, what is it with teachers? When I was 11 years old, my teacher walked up on me and a group of kids in the schoolyard. The others were bullying me relentlessly, and I tried to fight back but was just crying, asking them to go away. When the teacher reached us, I felt rescued, but instead, she took me by the arm and walked me into the classroom. She didn't even say anything to either me or the bullies. When we were inside, I was still softly crying. I've already had 2 years of bullying, discrimination, and beatings at that school. I was destroyed and desperate. The teacher sat me down and looked straight at me. When I had calmed down a little, she said to me, "You know what the problem is, Penny? You will never have real friends. You will always be an outcast and a loner." I stared at her, not even crying anymore, just stunned. It's best you know this now, instead of forcing yourself to be something you are not. The cracks were already there from the bullying, but that interaction absolutely destroyed me. I am still dealing with an inferiority complex and insecurity well into my 30s. But I do know now what I'm worth and have very few, but very intense friendships. Touching moment. Almost went perfect. Take the win. A near heartfelt moment. Unfortunately, some older people just seem to lack social tact and seemingly love for fellow people. Even for you, a highly successful and hardworking former child. I befriended an elderly Mormon who was a tenant of ours. Great lady and took good care of the house. Always asked about the wife and kids when I had to fix something at the house. When she felt us for assisted living, we had a great chat and hug. But her religious hook couldn't let go of her, and she told me in a supportive tone, "It's too bad you didn't find a nice Mormon woman." I replied, "I found someone much better. She's perfect for me." Still told her I loved her and would miss her company. By typing this out, I can discard the negative memory from my gives a shit list.
Thank you for watching. Write comments, put likes. Do not forget to watching other videos.